Welcome to Andrew Daniel's Purposeful TV, where stories leap from the page and into your life. And here we transform each of my hard copy books into a journey you can listen to, reflect on, and grow from. If you're ready to dive into stories that empower, inspire, and resonate deeply, you've come to the right place. So grab a comfortable seat, hit that subscribe button, and let's dive in. Today's reading promises to uplift and challenge you. Let's get started. A Royal Beginning. Growing up in a devout Christian household, the foundations of my upbringing were deeply rooted in values of faith, discipline, and compassion. Our home wasn't merely a place of shelter, it was a sanctuary where every action and decision were guided by the teachings of the Bible. Here, the rhythms of life were synchronized with a higher purpose. My parents, devout in their faith, ensured that I understood Christianity not just as a religion but as a way of life, one that influenced every fiber of my being. The mist that lingered over the early morning hills of Efon-Alaaye seemed to whisper secrets of an ancient past, carrying the very breath of ancestors who walked the earth before me. This town, cradled in the bosom of Ekiti State, was a land rich with history, its soil fertile with stories of triumph, resilience, and heritage. It was in this lush enclave that my journey began, on a day bathed in light and marked by the kind of joy that ripples through the hearts of a community when the first cry of a newborn echoes into the world. A firstborn son had arrived, heralded by both tradition and expectation, and that son was me. The weight of my birth was not ordinary. It was not simply the celebration of a new life, but the unfolding of a new chapter in a royal lineage that stretched far beyond the limits of youthful comprehension. My father, a prince from Ekiti, stood tall in the community, not merely for his royal blood, but for the healing hands that defined his vocation as an orthopedic doctor. His profession was a calling, a bridge between his princely heritage and the responsibility of service. This early understanding of the sacred bond between leadership and care imprinted upon me the notion that greatness often lies in humility and service. My mother, a pillar of grace from Ekiti, brought balance to our home, blending the intellect of a teacher with the nurturing touch of a nurse. Together, they forged a household rooted in both the reverence for tradition and the pursuit of excellence, crafting a narrative of love, faith, and discipline that would shape my very soul. I learned early on that education was a sacred journey, one that required dedication and hard work. My mother often said, "Knowledge is a light, it illuminates the path ahead." Her words became a guiding mantra as I navigated the complexities of childhood and adolescence. From the moment I could walk, I was immersed in the rhythm of our household's rituals. Morning prayers, led by my father's steady voice, infused each day with a sense of purpose. His hands, calloused from years of labor in the medical field, rested gently on my shoulders as he imparted wisdom that echoed long after the words were spoken. Greatness, he would often say, is a burden carried by those chosen, not because they seek it, but because they are born into it. His deep and knowing eyes seemed to look not just at me, but through me, as though he could already see the man I was destined to become. My mother's influence was no less profound. Her nurturing spirit wrapped around me like a warm blanket on a cold night, soothing the pressures that came with my birthright. In her presence, I learned the value of care, not just as an act, but as a way of being. She was meticulous in her teachings, ensuring my curiosity was always fed, whether through books, stories, or the simple act of listening. Her ability to make the ordinary feel extraordinary turned the most mundane moments into lessons of life and love. Through her, I discovered the magic of words, the power of learning, and the endless horizon of possibility that lay before me. Yet, even in this cradle of warmth and wisdom, there was a weight, an invisible crown that pressed upon my brow long before I was old enough to truly understand it. I was not merely a child, I was the firstborn of a royal family, a beacon of hope and promise to my people. The walls of our home were filled with stories of ancestors who had walked the path before me, their triumphs and trials etched into the fabric of our legacy. Each tale carried with it a reminder that my life was not my own, It was a continuation of a journey that had begun long before I took my first breath. The expectations were unspoken but palpable, an ever-present hum in the background of my childhood, urging me to live up to the greatness that had been bestowed upon me. As I grew, I began to see the duality of my existence more clearly. On one hand, I was a brilliant child, excelling in my studies and receiving accolades from teachers and peers alike. On the other hand, I was the heir to a legacy that demanded more than just academic success. It required strength, resilience, and the ability to carry the hopes of a people on my shoulders. This duality was both a blessing and a burden, shaping my identity in ways that were complex and often conflicting. Every triumph was celebrated, but with it came the reminder that I was not simply me, I was a prince, and with that title came responsibilities I was still learning to understand. The streets of Efon-Alaaye were my playground, but even here, I was not free from the watchful eyes of those who knew my lineage. Children of all ages would gather, their laughter ringing through the air, as we played games beneath the vast expanse of the Nigerian sky. But even in those moments of joy, I felt the weight of expectation settle like a cloak upon my shoulders. I was not just a boy running through the fields, I was the future. With every step, I was reminded that my actions were not just my own, they were reflections of my family, my heritage, and the generations of royalty that had come before me. Despite the pressures, I found solace in the beauty of my surroundings. The hills of Efon-Alaaye, with their vibrant greenery and cascading waterfalls, became my sanctuary. Here, amidst the whispering trees and the gentle hum of nature, I could escape the confines of expectation and simply be. I would sit for hours watching the clouds drift lazily across the sky, my mind wandering to far-off lands and dreams yet to be realized. In these moments, I felt a sense of freedom that was rare in my otherwise structured life, a freedom to dream, to imagine, and to explore the vastness of my own potential. Yet, even in these moments of escape, the lessons of my heritage were never far from my mind. The stories of my ancestors, passed down through generations, were woven into the very fabric of my being. They were not just tales of triumph, they were lessons in resilience, in the ability to rise above adversity and carve out a path to greatness. I was constantly reminded that my journey was not just about personal success, it was about carrying forward the legacy of those who had come before me, honoring their sacrifices and ensuring that their stories were not forgotten. As I transitioned into adolescence, the weight of expectation grew heavier. The playful days of childhood gave way to the sobering realities of what it meant to be a prince. The academic accolades that had once brought me joy now felt like stepping stones in a much larger journey, one I was still trying to fully comprehend. I began to feel the pressure to not just excel but to exceed, to be more than what was expected of me. My father's words echoed in my mind, "Greatness is not given, it is earned with each passing year." I pushed myself harder, striving to live up to the legacy that had been entrusted to me. But even amidst the pressure, a fire burned within me, fueled by the stories of my ancestors, by the love of my family, and by the dreams I held close to my heart. I began to realize that while my royal blood granted me a certain status, it was my own determination and resilience that would ultimately define my path. I was not just a prince, I was a young man with dreams and aspirations that extended far beyond the expectations of my heritage. In the heart of Efon-Alaaye, I stood at the crossroads of tradition and ambition, my feet firmly planted in the soil of my ancestors, yet my eyes fixed on the horizon. My journey had only just begun, but already I could feel the pull of destiny guiding me forward, a destiny shaped by the past but forged by my own hands. In this complex tapestry of existence, I began to weave my own story, one that would honor my roots while paving the way for my future. With faith as my compass and compassion as my guide, I ventured into the world, ready to embrace the challenges that awaited me, ever mindful of the royal heritage that shaped my journey. The blend of my upbringing, the expectations placed upon me, and the relentless pursuit of my dreams would be the foundation upon which I would build my legacy, a legacy that would honor the past, while creating a future filled with promise and hope. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the pages of my book. I hope the story we explored today left you feeling inspired, challenged, and ready to look at your own life with a fresh perspective. If you found value in this reading, please hit that like button, subscribe to stay connected, and tap the bell icon so you don't miss future episodes. I'd love to hear what resonated with you most, so drop a comment below and let's keep the conversation going. Remember, every page you turn, every story you dive into, has the power to transform and empower you. This is Andrew Daniels reminding you to keep pursuing purpose, keep fueling tomorrow, and most of all, keep believing in the journey. Until next time, take care and stay inspired.